All righty, so welcome all. So this is our June 29th meeting of the Lake Boon Commission. This is a public meeting. As I mentioned, we are recording this, and for those who are interested, we do provide the link to that to Stowe TV, and they move it on to Stowe TV and also into the cloud on YouTube. So these things are kind of kept for perpetuity purposes. We also have the transcript going so that you can see down the bottom for hearing impaired, or if it's just easier sometimes to take a look at that. This is an auto transcripting, so it doesn't get everything 100%, but it does a pretty good job. Okay, so we have all three commissioners here, so thank you. And let me quickly run through the agenda for today. We will start off with public comment. We have 2 sets of meeting minutes to review and approve. We have some time set aside in case we do have any last bills for payment, and talk about our budget. And then we still kind of have an open one around the boat, motor replacement, buoys, and any other prep going into this summer season. And our last agenda item there is leadership transition. So decisions as I leave the commission, and so deciding on officers and that sort of thing as we go forward. Then we'll have old business, new business, and the group will set a date for a potential next meeting. So that is our agenda for today. Let me open with public comment. So do we have anyone who would like to raise an issue, a question, that sort of thing, for us to either respond to if we can quickly, or to put onto a future agenda?
I'd like to follow up shortly, Chris, on the discussion from the last meeting. We talked about the third basin and whether making it a no-wake zone entirely worked. And I think the answer was because it's 400 feet across, we can't or won't, which was disappointing. But I mean, given that, and we also, I think, as a group agreed that the no wake, you should be no wake until you're within 150 or till 150 feet from any shore or dock. And given that, I'd like to request that we move the buoy that's on the third basin side of our narrows and move it out. I do have a drawing of that area to look at the basin, and it's quite clear that if you move right now, I actually tried to make a laser measurement of it last night, but the mosquitoes carried me away in the dark, so I didn't get to make it. But it looks like on our side there's about 75 to 100 feet, and on Al's side there's about 50 to 75 feet from the buoy to the shore. And I think if our rule, and I think we've all agreed, is 150 feet, then that buoy should be moved out so that we're not condoning somebody going at full speed well inside of 150 feet. Just yesterday afternoon, when I was trying to make some measurements, a big pontoon boat came roaring out of the back basins, all the way through the third basin, all the way into the narrows, all the way up to the buoy, and then put on the brakes hard and created a giant wave. I'm sure it rocked at least Andy's dock, if not Conray's also. And I mean, that's what we're trying to prevent with these buoys, is prevent that from happening. So again, we can look at a diagram of the area. It's quite obvious that there's an area that it necks out, and then 150 feet is comfortable, but you'd have to move that buoy 50 to 75 feet towards the third basin to do that. And I'd like to request that we do that.
So
now Dan and I went out today looking at buoys and just practicing boating. He may have a couple of additional comments to add.
Well, let me first kind of respond to yours. So
okay.
I think that So this is public comment, which is great. You raised that.
Right.
It would, for us to, really spend some time deliberating it, anything like that, so it needs to be its own agenda item.
Needs to be on a
and
future
kind of prep-
agenda.
Yes, it should. And I
Okay.
just want to kind of caution you that the 150 rule is not that it's just 150 feet from the shore or a dock. It's related to an active swimming area, area that with a swimmer or various things, blind, those kinds of stuff. So it is not a pure 150.
It is for personal watercrafts. That language does not
Okay, if you're
appear in
talking-
the
yes,
jet ski
per-
stuff. It
yes.
does appear in the boating stuff, but it does not appear in the
Correct.
jet ski stuff.
You are correct. So if you were speaking specifically of just personal watercraft, then you're correct. That
Right.
it does say 150. So I think that what's being asked is that some work be done on that, and it sounds like maybe you've already started to do a little bit of looking at some additional details, and have that on a future agenda for the LBC. Dan, did
Okay.
you want to add something on that?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that thank you, Red. We went out together, and actually he let me learn a little bit more on boating, and I'm pleased to report that I did not bump into any of the buoys. This is actually an exceptionally good piece of
That
news.
got close a couple of times, but he didn't hit it.
But seriously, we did get a chance, and I know, Conrad, you put a lot of thought into exactly where to put them and how to put them. And I think, to me, I think will need to be a topic for discussion at some future agenda where we can officially post it. But, if we're trying to, because we don't want to add more regulations, we just want to enforce the ones we have, I think the clearer we can communicate where those boundaries are, because we clearly have a problem of unsafe or excessive speed within that 150-foot zone that we have demarcated. And the better we can place the buoys to communicate that, the better we'll be able to maintain the safety.
Okay, so I have made note of that as a new business for a future meeting, and I suspect that, it will be up to Conray and Dan going forward on this. But I think there probably there might be a good way to approach it is to have some work done outside of meetings, which can't obviously involve two of the commissioners, but one commissioner can be involved. So if it's doing some research, doing some other work in that space, either it can just be folks on the lake community doing it, and we can have one commissioner involved, and that would be it.
Gonna wash your hand, hold on.
Okay, thank you, Red. All right, Carolyn.
I just want to take a moment to thank Chris for all of the work that she has done over the past 5 years now, I believe. So, and that's my comment. Thank you, Chris.
You're welcome, and thank you for saying that. It's been it's been a real experience, and it's I think we've made for great progress on some things, and protecting this community and this resource is just a really important thing. So I know the folks will continue on in that vein.
Hey, Chris, I'd like to kind of insert a public comment if I could.
Sure.
The buoys are technically aids to navigation. And as such, anybody fooling around with them actually creates a criminal offense. So someone has chosen to change the mechanism in the buoy off of Pine Point and Basin 1 from flashing to hard on.
Somebody's moved it, you say?
They haven't moved it, they've changed the operation of it. If I catch them doing that, I will prosecute them. Because hard on buoy, you cannot recognize from a distance between that and anything on the shore.
Yep.
They have to
Agreed.
flash. But if anybody knows who's doing that, if we find out who's doing it, I will ask the police to pull a criminal complaint against them. It's an aid to navigation, is a criminal offense to screw around with those. It's not a misdemeanor.
Did
And
it move from blinking to fixed?
they changed it from blinking to fixed. I gotta go change that back.
Did you, I'm sorry, Conrad, did you change it back?
I have not had time to yet. I've been out of town. I just got back yesterday.
Okay.
And
So,
Conrad, just a point of question. So which buoy is this?
the one off of Pine Point down by Dan. The one
Oh,
off-
way down there. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was out last night and I was gonna say, what happened to my buoy? I went all the way down there and it was unfixed. Which, in order to change those, you have to literally take the lights off the buoys, so whoever. did
Yeah,
it-
that's what I thought, because I couldn't just turn them off when they were sitting on my beach. So
That's right,
so that's interesting. So somebody spent some time over there.
that's my belief. We have had complaints about people that don't like flashing lights on the lake, but guess what?
Yeah. Okay, yes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, any other public comment? Yes, Alana. Alana, you're on mute.
We can't hear you either way.
No,
Still showing on mute. Oh,
Yeah.
maybe not.
Just unmute herself.
yeah, she did, I think.
Select a different
Unmuted.
microphone if you can.
Who can read
So-
lips?
Yeah, let me just see. So Alana, down at the very bottom of your screen, probably there's a little thing that says mute. And so if you click the little up arrow next to it, to the right of it, you should get, whoops, did we lose her? There she is. You should get a little box of options. And so select the microphone. Do you have something selected when you do that? No, you still can't.
Can she chat?
Yes, good idea. She's going to chat.
She's muted again.
Good idea. I'm in the Narrows. Okay. So she says, my comment is about the buoy. Some people do not know what no wake means. Well, there's education for you.
They
So-
need to be woke about the wake.
Yes, they do. She says, I will say no wake. I get a nasty hand signal. Oh, they know, they just don't want to. So they know. So I would just say, Alana, the key here, which, we've talked with the police many times, obviously, if they see it, they will deal with it, but that's not that easy. If you can get the registration number on the boat, then you can call that in with that registration number and report that to the police, and they can, kind of go from there.
Taking a picture or a video helps.
Yep.
See, the problem we have on the lake, and we always will have, is enforcement. We can pass a million laws, we can do a million things, but we're never going to have a full-time, 100% coverage of police. Never going to happen.
Andre, could we have a hotline someplace that people could, kind of phone them in and we can accumulate them?
That's called 911.
Call the Stowe Police.
Yep. The 911 is that hotline.
But guys, I've been at this a long time and longer than I want to remember. And it was same thing, no matter what we do, we have the same few offenders. When we catch them, we take care of them. But it's finding out who the offenders are and talking to them. And even if you don't get, if you get the numbers, if it's an on-lake boat, we could go talk to them. But more often than not, it's an off-lake boat. Someone puts in the ramp and comes in and they don't care. And
So can I just get a clarification on something you were saying earlier, Chris, about, this is, we need to not have commissioners communicate by themselves outside of the meeting. On the other hand, it would be helpful for Conrad and I to go out and, in the commission boat and just, take a look. Conrad could explain a little bit more about, so I know more about where they're placed and why, and we can discuss that to get an on the ground or on the water picture. But as long as we don't make any decisions about any sort of change of policy, then we can.
So Dan, you really can't discuss it. That's still kind of considered deliberation. You could go out, which we did. So we did this like a year ago with Conrad, and he walked us through his rationale, like this is here for this reason, this is where I put it. And we kind of took our notes on that. We didn't argue it. We didn't say, well, doesn't it belong closer or whatever. Those kinds of elements is what we can't have a discussion about and deliberate outside of a public meeting. So yes, you can, from an educational perspective, can go learn more, see what, but not actually start discussing, even where there may be contentious areas or, so please kind of save that to, either one commissioner with someone else kind of out talking through those things, or you kind of make your notations and then coming to a public meeting where that's
all right
and be openly discussed.
Okay.
So the answer, Dan, is yes, we can go out. We
Okay.
just have to be careful what we do.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Plus, you can help me make even more sure that I don't bump into buoys when I pilot the boat.
Absolutely.
One question, are we talking about people just going a little too fast for no wake, or people buzzing the no wake zones?
Both.
Uh,
So
I mean, rarely have I seen somebody storm through the whole no wake zone.
it does happen. I've seen it. I saw it once and got their numbers. Andy used a telephoto lens on the camera. We got their numbers and the police wouldn't talk to them. But it's really hard to catch them. And yes, no wake. So let's do some definitions, right? There's no such thing as no wake, first of all. You can't move through the water without making a ripple.
Yep.
So what we define as no wake is in gear, no extra gas. So no matter what the boat is, if they're applying throttle beyond idle speed, that's going to be a wake issue. And that's what we use. There's nothing else to use, really, because I'll tell you, there's some boats that even at idle speed throw up a pretty good wake.
Yeah, I thought, Conrad, the definition was, sufficient to steer, essentially. So headway speed, meaning it's sufficient to steer the boat, and that can be slightly different, obviously, for different boats and hull types. But that was my understanding of the definition of wake.
Your understanding is correct, and most of the time it means in gear, no extra gas.
Yeah.
Now, if we have high winds, guess what? You need a little more fuel.
Right.
If you have lightning over your head, no wakes don't count.
Well, yeah. Okay, so
You can run to safety legally.
right. Okay, so I see there's a lot of things in the chat. I just want to mention a couple of things here, and then we'll move on. So yes, the appropriate thing is to contact the Stowe Police and use the 911, not their business number to call them, report it, and they can either deal with it on the water. Sometimes they can deal with it at the launch. They can deal with it in various ways. They can observe it from place on the shore. They don't necessarily have to go out in a boat. I've not seen them actually, report someone's name. When you call about it, they will say a caller on Kingland Road, or a caller on, Hunter Ave or whatever, called about X, but they won't publish your name. So hopefully folks aren't really afraid of actually reporting things.
There's no reason to be afraid.
That's my understanding also. Okay, so I'm gonna move on. There's definitely interest in further discussion and a agenda. At some point, it might turn into needing to have some type of a different type of public hearing or something to address it.
Red, when you get a chance, let you and I sit down, okay?
Okay, sure.
Great. Okay. I'm going to move on unless there is any other public comment. That's a different subject. Okay, sounds like we're good to go. Thank you all. All right. So next is the meeting minutes. So Dan, we had 2 sets of minutes. One from, I think, May. Is that correct? And then our last meeting, June 14th. Is that right?
Yes, and I did get the comments that you provided. And Conrad, I think you also took a look at it. I've integrated all those comments, and just before this meeting, I sent copies back to you with those changes implemented.
Okay, so I haven't re-reviewed, but if you incorporated, the comments, those were the only things that I had.
I'll say that we're going to miss you in a lot of ways, Chris. But one big one is that you keep very careful notes as chair, and you are exquisitely tuned to making sure to finding things and that in the minutes. And I so much appreciate that, and we're going to miss that.
Well, appreciate that. Thank you for doing them. It's not, I know it's not an easy job, having been the clerk before. It's a tough thing to deal with. So do I have a motion for approving the minutes?
Motion to approve both sets of minutes as amended.
I second.
So can we just put in the dates here? So we have
May 17th and June 14th.
May 17th, June 14th, right?
Yep.
Okay, so go ahead, say that again, Conrad.
Motion to approve both sets of minutes, the 2 dates as amended.
And do I have second?
I second.
5/17 and 6/14.
Excellent. All right, seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And that is all 3 of us, so that has passed unanimously. All right. It's the wrong thing here. All right, okay. Next on our agenda is bills. Okay, so
Are there any new bills?
So we do not have any, I am not aware of any new bills for this fiscal year. So we're still in the FY22. So I am not aware of any new bills for FY22. Conrad, we still have to work out the reimbursement on your Cabello.
I've got Chris, I got 2 comments on that one, right? Number one, I've actually got the original receipts. I can't find a date on them anywhere. for some reason, the two Cabela's receipts, they got everything on there. They got the credit card number, they got the ID number, they got everything but a date. The other thing is that those receipts were really backup information to the itemized one that I gave you on the, total expenses, 574.74. So
Yes.
that's what we approved as a commission.
Well, yes, so we approved the amount that was the aggregate, but we were also, we were approving those receipts that equated to that total amount. We didn't do them each individually and say we approved this one for 40 whatever, or this one for that. We did the aggregate. But the reality is that we have to have receipts that show the amount and the date, because otherwise the town doesn't have any proof that it falls in the correct fiscal year if we don't have the date, and obviously the amount is the amount.
Can Conray submit a copy of the credit card that would have the amount and the date from his statement?
Yeah, Dan, I tried to do that today, and I got this big community bank, which is the BJ's credit card. They're down. So when they get their act together and get it back up, yeah, we can do that. But right now, no.
But it's not BJ's. It's it's
Community bank.
you use a BJ's credit card. Sorry. Okay. So here's what I would suggest, because I can just tell you, Julie's already rejected those right now, so we have to come up with a better one.
So my question, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, if you would call Cabela's and just tell them that you have this receipt.
I will work on it, but
Yeah.
I need to talk to Julie, because if I was to submit a bill to the commission for the work I did and just submit a bill from me to the commission, it doesn't have to be backed by receipts, because I'm the provider at that point.
Yeah, I don't know how
I
they
know
would
for
put
sure,
that.
but that's what we used to do.
Yeah, I don't know, Conray. So yes,
I'll work with Julie directly on this one, Chris. I'll figure it out.
okay,
I've worked with her in the past.
great.
And I know she's trying to cross i's and dot t's, but I also know that I could have submitted an itemized bill to you guys and from me to you, and it would have stood up. So I don't know. I'll try to get a better receipt. I'm really upset that there's no receipts no dates on the two receipts I have.
Yeah, I went back and looked, at what I could see. I don't know if that was the full thing, but on your scan, I'm like, that's
Well, one of the scans clipped some of the stuff, but there's two bills on there. The one for $42.99, it's complete. There's everything on that one except the date that it happened. And
Yeah.
that's complete.
What were you saying when you tried to get a copy of go to your credit card company and?
They're offline right now. There's a big red warning sign on their website. Sorry, we're down.
Okay.
there we go. All right, so you're gonna go ahead.
Do that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So you're gonna go ahead and work directly with Julie.
I'll work with Julie.
Okay.
I need to go over, I'd like to meet the new town manager anyway sometime, which I haven't done. Dad, have you met her?
Yeah, but it's been,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'll do that.
Okay. Do we have any other bills for
do
payment?
you have a Zoom bill?
We paid the June one.
Okay, and I think I mentioned last time that, is there a way for us to do that on an annual basis? And you said, we need to do that sort of as a topic of agenda, maybe that comes up when it shifts from your responsibility to Conray's.
So Dan, there's a bigger issue there, and that's, are we going to continue with Zooms? So the state may not, we're going to have to go back to live meetings, just a question of when.
Yeah, so what I've seen, at least in Hudson, there's a planning board meeting, they're now doing hybrid, meaning that, we would have an actual physical meeting, but there would be the Zoom option for people who call in, so that would still require Zoom.
Yeah, I'll tell you something. I'm doing that at my yacht club, and what we ended up doing is we use Zoom to broadcast the meeting to our members, but the members on Zoom are not part of the meeting because of the technical.
What I'm talking about is the public.
I'm same difference. I can tell you the blended meetings on Zoom are non-trivial. And the trick is when you start doing a blended live meeting, and you try to get audience participation, et cetera, the technical issues are arduous. And I've been working on that for a year and we still haven't got a solution. And it's not just me, I've got some pretty good guys at the club that are IT professionals. And we finally gave up.
Yeah.
We'll
Because the
talk
Hudson
about
meeting
that.
actually went pretty well, but you know, I understand
Yeah.
that.
I don't know how they're doing it. If they have a way to do it, I'd love to know what it is. But what they're probably doing is having a single laptop at the meeting where they're pulling people in. The trick is getting audio from the external audiences to the people at the meeting. And, you know, in my case, we have 50 people in a room, and trying to get audio for 50 people so they can hear stuff from it's hard.
Yeah. So Chris, do you know when this transition, when it's mandated, and yeah, do you know when that? You're muted.
I had barking dog, so I went mute. So July 15th, and I can't remember if it's on July 15th or every meeting starting on July 15th, but July 15th is the date. And you guys, I did send that off to you guys when I first got it from our town, response about that. So you guys have that.
Yeah.
But it could still change, right? The governor could decide to extend it further. But right now, July 15th is the deadline.
Because I do remember when we polled, participants in our meetings,
Yep.
it's been unanimous each time we've done it that people prefer the Zoom option.
Yep.
So I guess this is actually a topic that's beyond your scope of work, isn't it, Chris?
But well, yes, see what happens, after the 15th, yes.
So I would say, Conrad, it seems to
tomorrow.
me that, well, maybe this is when we talk about the date of the next meeting, but, our next meeting should be, in fact, in person, during which we have a discussion about whether and how to have hybrid or what.
Yeah. So, okay, so we're trying to finish up here on bills for payment. So is there anything else? So
I have a question on that.
Yes.
I can talk about it under the motor replacement thing
Yes, why don't we do the motor,
in the budget.
hold it on that, because right now we don't have a bill to pay.
I can get one by tomorrow. That's the point. I want to talk about that at the appropriate time.
Okay, okay, that's fine. Let's hold that till we talk about the boat and the motor, because that's not a bill we have in hand to review and approve. So
Correct.
let's hold that, okay? All right,
Chris,
so
did we sort out the issues of timing for invoices with Solitude?
So yes, we have 2 invoices were reissued without reissued for July 1st without reference to the service date. So just
Okay.
basically the task area. And so we do have those. I sent those.
So you got new bills from Solitude that changes
Correct.
the dates.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And so we don't want to approve those yet. We could, but I wouldn't, because we don't want to submit them until after the fiscal year and not worry about somebody getting confused. So those will be in your first meeting, after the end of this fiscal year. So the first meeting after the end of the month, and then those should go.
Well said, Chris. Those will go on the next fiscal year meetings.
One
So was
other,
that arranged with Dominic or with their accounting people?
I spoke with Dominic. He worked with their business office, and that's who we got the revised
Okay.
billing from. And I did copy you. You should have that in your email today.
Okay,
Since the invoice date on that is July 1, we can't do anything until July 1 anyway.
Correct.
So let me add another topic from Bill's was the Alpha Analytical bill that was from a previous fiscal year. I had the task of resolving that. I did recontact them there and we clarified exactly the amount. Then I spoke with Dave Gray for the Lake Boon Association, who has more flexibility to handle something like this. And the Lake Boon Association graciously paid that bill. I don't know, Dave, if you want to add anything to that.
No, it was not a large one, so it seemed reasonable to have the LBA pay for it. You always won.
Thank you for doing that. All righty. Okay, so I think we're done now with bills for payment. Late here. Getting dark in here. All right, so moving on to budget, just because we are at the end of the fiscal year. It hasn't changed from our discussion in our last meeting, because we have not added any new bills in there. So we are in good shape. We have not exceeded our expenditures in either our operating budget area or our warrant funds. So we're in good shape, and we will talk about whether or not something, Conrad, that you have on the boat side is something that could perhaps move into this fiscal year before it closes. So okay, so that's our budget. Yep. All righty. So now we are on the topic of the boat, motor, buoys, any other 2022. And I think the motor is probably the main topic here. So Conway.
I finally got all my quotes. We screwed up. We budgeted for a motor. We didn't budget to put it on the boat, it turned it out. So that's been an interesting exercise, shall we say. So what you probably don't know is the way these motor manufacturers work is if they sell you a motor, it has to be mounted by a dealer. If the motor's, I think, over 15 horsepower. So that means that the purchase price of the motor was $7,500, but the rigging cost was it brought the total bill up to $9,500, which I don't think we budgeted for. I cannot remember exactly what our two numbers were that we got from the two towns. So sorry about that. Hopefully it'll stop in a second. So I sent both of you a copy of the quote from Portside Marine.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. So after some negotiations, this is what we ended up with. And we're about $500 over our 8,000. Now, so that extra 500 is truly maintenance on the boat they will do when they rig it. Now, I believe, Chris, that next year's budget had enough money in it to pay that $500.
To pay the which one? The five?
The maintenance piece, the 500. There's actually an $800 fee there for maintenance.
Yeah.
But the total price of the motor after the discount for the trade-in is $8,500. We have $8,000 in the.
We budgeted 8,000. Yep.
And what did the towns approve? That's what I don't remember without looking.
Yeah. So they approved our budgets as we submitted them for our operating budgets. So
That's not the question. The question is in town meeting, they approved a warrant article for money for a motor.
That's not ours. That was for the police boat, not for us.
So there was not a warrant article in Stowe for motor?
No, because we were not in capital. So,
Okay,
so nope.
If I
And-
follow, that means it comes out of our budget, and so us, if our budget has a $500 balance, as long as we're still within budget, can we add that 500?
I think the answer is yes.
Yeah, so I'm sorry, I was looking for our budget while you were explaining that. So when you, so I'm looking at the quote sheet, and you're saying the boat system maintenance is what you want to put on the move on to.
We don't have,
We can't pay. We can't just pay some amount, I don't think. Like we haven't bought something that we could say we can approve an invoice for.
so you're correct right at the moment. So part of that maintenance basically is replacing the controls in the boat. And I think we have enough money in this year's budget to buy the controls.
So if we had a bill for the controls
Yeah,
of X amount of money,
yeah,
and it was, had a date of
29th of June,
today or tomorrow, right?
30th of June rather.
Yep, then we could put it on to this year, and our current balance this year, we have almost, unless there's something hidden somewhere, we in our operating budget, so unrelated to our warrant articles stuff for the weed treatment, we would have enough to cover a $1,200 controller equipment.
Okay, and I think that's legal for us to do that.
If you buy the equipment, right, if we've bought it,
Right,
ours now, I mean, theoretically, we could have bought the motor, but we can't because we don't have the funds for that. But my understanding is we could buy that equipment that's needed, and that is now ours. We own it.
good. So
It's
I'm
not
gonna try to do that. So what I need to do then is we need to approve me to go buy that control tomorrow. And actually, Dan, Chris, I know you're not gonna be here after July, so Dan, you and I can approve that purchase before, at our next meeting. And as long as we turn the bill in within 2 weeks, it'll be okay.
Right. So in other words, if you buy within this fiscal year, uses this fiscal year's funds, and
Yeah.
we can approve at the next meeting the reimbursement for that.
Yeah, that's what I'll do.
Mhm.
But
Chris?
you will have to do it. You'll have to have a meeting in early July in order to make sure you get it in the time frame.
Yeah, we will anyways, Chris, because
Okay,
we always have a meeting in that 2-week period, just in case there's any
Yep.
bills we missed.
Yep.
Because as you know, after that 2-week period, you can't touch them.
Yep.
So, and in that same period of time, Julie's gonna get a bill to Hudson, so Hudson can pay Stowe. So, okay, I'll do that, tomorrow.
and what I would suggest, Conway, is that whatever, assuming you can do that, it's very clear that it's equipment we're buying.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna do that tomorrow.
Yeah.
Now, the other.
So I move that we approve, we authorize Conray to purchase the controller for up to $1,200, as long as that's completed by, within this,
Tomorrow, by June 30th,
by the end of June 30th.
yeah,
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Just a quick question. Are we talking about the LBC boat or the police boat?
LBC.
LPC.
You see,
And separately, the police are taking care of their new
We have
motor?
no input on the police boat, Red.
Correct.
Say that again?
We have no input to the police boat, I've tried.
Okay.
So,
Because Jeff seems to think he's getting a new motor.
well,
yes,
he may, but that's not our budget.
it's a different boat
Okay.
and a different budget and different area of responsibility. So we
Okay.
have a motion to approve the purchase of the controller equipment in an amount not to exceed $1,200 prior to June 30th.
I'll second that.
Conway seconded. Do we have any further discussion?
I have one, Chris.
Okay, go ahead.
So my bill for 574.74 hasn't been paid yet. So if that's gonna come off of our current year budget, when I get it figured out with Julie, are we still
So
good?
it will, it's already factored in. So,
That's all I needed to hear.
so, because I assumed that was already, we put it in and at the time, I assumed it's paid, but, so that's already factored in. We still have a balance. So I sent you guys, the spreadsheet back, I don't know, a week or so ago, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
So you've got that and nothing has changed on our expenditures because we haven't approved anything since the 14th, so.
Right, and so I'll appreciate, we'll confirm this in a moment, but assuming that Conray becomes chair and I, among my responsibilities, manage on behalf of the budget, I'll ask you to send me the latest, when you're done, send me whatever budgetary information you have.
we'll talk about that in the transition piece.
Okay, so we have a motion and we have a second. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye.
All right,
And that is unanimous. So
One- I
we
have
have
one last comment on the motor, I think. Well, maybe, I don't know. First of all, I'll do the comment after I take questions from you guys. Do you have any other questions on this?
on the thing, yeah, so, so boat systems maintenance, so is this a like a warranty or we actually have a
No,
maintenance?
that was how that's kind of the way I negotiated the quote to look, so we could take money from our budgets to pay for the maintenance on the boat and not have it be part of a hard motor quote. All we did is we took the quote and we broke it down into its constituent pieces rather than having it just one number. Because in reality, what they would have said is that the motor is $9,500. And it's really not. It's $7,500 plus these other fees. So what I did is I got the quote broken down so we could handle it within our systems.
So, yeah, so I get the 75, the 12, but the 800, right? Oh, that is, so sorry. I thought that was rigging.
The rigging is 1,200,
Okay, so rigging is 1,200, right? And maintenance is 800.
right?
But what is maintenance? What is it we're getting?
When you pull the motor off the boat, the things you do to the boat to make it correct. We don't know until we take it apart, unfortunately.
Okay, so it's not so much maintenance as it is labor.
It's what it is. It's labor to fix whatever's wrong with the boat.
Okay. I think of maintenance sort of like as a warranty or something like that. So, all right, now I understand. That's
It's-
basically labor.
Right.
Okay. Got it.
It's labor plus parts, so.
Yes, sure. Okay. So that was my only question on that.
And they were only gonna give us $500 for the motor, so I talked them into the $1,000, so,
Good job.
yeah. Couple quick comments while we're here, unless Dan, do you have any questions?
no, I do. My only question is about the timing of approval and discussion. I appreciate the due diligence you're putting into this, Chris, and Conray, and the amount of work you put into it. This is an expense from next fiscal year that starts July 1st. Is that correct?
No. So what we're gonna do, Dan, is we have money in this year's budget that has not been expended. That money was for parts and maintenance, et cetera, the way we put it in the budget originally. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use this year's money to pay for that work on the boat, the parts that we need to do for that work on the boat.
No, I'm talking about the $8,000
The 8,000.
or whatever it is. Is that amount? I guess I'm getting confused.
All right, so let me,
which-
Dan, so this is a quote, this is not a bill.
Yeah.
Okay. So what we're agreeing that we would like to move forward with purchase, we will move forward with this. But so what we're doing is we're approving Conray to spend up to $1,200 to purchase the rigging components and parts.
Control,
And that's in this fiscal year.
Yep.
Everything, so that will come out of our current budget, their hours, it'll get paid separately. Then at some point, when we close the deal, we will be buying the motor, we will get the trade-in value, and we will then owe them the whatever balance.
Yeah, whatever the
And
balance.
that portion comes out of next year's fiscal budget.
Correct, that will come out of the FY23, which starts July 1.
Yep. Okay.
Got it?
So one last comment on this, there are no motors around. So if we were to go to somebody else and want a motor right now, we'd be looking at a year out before we get the motor. So fortunately, I was lucky to talk to these guys early in the spring and got them, and he had one motor left and he put it
Good.
aside for us.
Thank you for your
Yeah.
foresight.
So when you talk about the police boat, I doubt very much the police boat will have a new motor this year, simply because there's none out there.
That may be true. Okay, so.
'Cause he's telling me sometimes it starts and sometimes it doesn't.
Been doing that for years.
Okay.
Yeah,
That
okay.
boat has been- Red, you and I should talk offline.
Okay, sure.
All right, so we have done what we need to as it relates to the motor. And Conray, the next that will be in your hands to try to make that happen. And then everything else will be something to be dealt with in the next fiscal year because we aren't buying it now.
Right.
Okay,
So one last comment, Chris, timing. It'll probably get installed at the end of July. Beginning, you don't care, but
Nope.
Dan, you'll care, so.
yeah, what I would say is just that if you, Conray, can coordinate with Mike or with Jeff, in the event that their boat is going to be either out for a new motor or if they're going to have the detailing done or whatever, just
Will
make
do.
sure it's not at the
Will
same
do.
time.
We'll do as always.
Okay, so that's that. There's nothing else other than the motor at this point that we need to deal with about the boat. I did have one question for you, Conray. The trailer registration that we got it registered last year, the trailer. Is that on a boat? Is that an annual thing?
No, on the trailer, no. So
Okay.
the way I understand it, Chris, is the registration on the trailer is a municipal plate. It's one of the blue government plates. They don't expire.
Okay, you've got all the paperwork, so,
And our boat itself is not registered, nor does it have to be.
correct. And again, that might be something that you guys take up in the
We
future.
could register if we want to, but it's not required.
Yes. So I just wanted to make sure that we don't have to, that you wouldn't need to kind of plan for renewing that registration on the trailer. So that's good. So buoys at this point,
Good. I'm not gonna do anything else on
Yeah.
board right now.
sounds good. So I think anything else for sort of prep on the 2022 season that we're in?
I think we're good.
Okay. All right, so then that takes us to the leadership transition and officer election. So I'm going to kind of let Conray, you and Dan take the lead on this. If there's questions or anything you kind of want to ask of me, and then obviously, we need to be thinking about your officers for beginning of the fiscal year.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, Chris, any update from Denise? I know she is going to interview any applicants, make a recommendation to the select board who give the formal approval. I would also add, by the way, that they approved my renewal of my term. So do we have any update from Denise or anything? Do we know how many are there?
The only, nothing has changed since I reached out to, well, I have not had an update since I reached out to her probably at least 2 weeks ago. At that time, there was one candidate, and at that time, she had not interviewed that candidate. I have not heard anything from her. She's not asked anything of me. So
After the end of your term, I'll take over that responsibility of communicating with her.
yes, I would say that would make sense.
Okay.
Yep. Anything else on transition?
Yeah, and the transition officer election, I think we had a little bit of a discussion in our last meeting about during this interim where there's just the two of us. Conray said that you'd be interested in taking over the chair, at least for, some period of time. That to me is fine. I just don't have the time to consider taking it on, and I don't have the experience that you have either, Conray. I would support that. I would continue along as the clerk until such time as we have somebody come in, may be able to take over that. But I think it's really going to be the two of us, Conray, and we can have some discussion about it. But that would be I would support your taking over as chair.
Thank you, Dan. And Chris, I'm assuming we'll still be able to talk to you.
Oh, of course.
So that's an interesting question. If we talk with you, you're ex officio. So we could talk with you outside of the meeting.
One of you can.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yes. So I can't meet with both of you. I could just as a transfer of knowledge, but yeah, just because you two can't be, deliberating anything.
The main thing, Chris, that I care about is the calendar you created.
Yep, which
That's
I gave
really
you guys.
important. That's valuable.
Yep.
And the spreadsheets you've done, those are valuable.
Yep.
And then there's probably other stuff, but those are the two things that come to mind immediately.
Yep.
As we move forward, but the calendar is probably number one, because that's really the to-do list for the commission.
Yep.
And that was the first thing, as I recall, Chris, when you came on as chair, you coordinated all of that into an incredibly useful calendar. It was your first stamp of order.
Well, it's how I can keep track of things. So it's good. So you guys have that. I sent that to you in that zip file of stuff probably 2 or 3 weeks ago, right before our last meeting.
Yeah, I know I have it somewhere.
Yeah. So I would say, take a look at, and I added a bunch of things there, a lot of instructions, sort of a dump from me around, procedure for stuff. That doesn't make it official, right? But it's kind of my notes of how to do certain things, the procedures for submitting bills and all of that stuff was also in that zip file.
June 14th, the LBC transition file. I got it.
Yep.
Yeah, Chris, thank you very much. You've been great. Except for one problem. I didn't really want to come out of take it over again, but I will. 25 years was enough. But we need, I think, I'd rather be chairman. I know how to be chairman. I'm a horrible clerk. And Dan is a very good one.
So unless there's further discussion, I move that Conray, effective July 1st, become the new chair of the Lake Boon Commission. and that Dan continue as clerk.
And I will second that motion, and I'm sorry.
That's okay. You can second it.
No, I was pretending to be chair for a second. I was gonna call for a vote.
I tried to turn this meeting over to you guys last time, but you didn't want it. All right, so we have a motion from Dan and we have a second, Conray, and any further discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So I have a request for Dan and Chris that you send a note to Denise and tell her what happened.
I will do that.
And then what I'll do is I will make an appointment to go talk to her because I haven't met her in person. I knew Wrigley extremely well. Bill and I did a lot of stuff for a lot of years, and so I got to know him. I don't know Denise at all. I know Julie, but
Okay.
Yep. I think that's good. All right, so Dan, you're gonna do that?
Yeah, and so I would like if we could just pick up on a topic I mentioned earlier. Conrad, I don't know if you would find it helpful for me to handle the budget. I'm pleased to do that. It's something that Chris, you've done a really great job with. If you can send me your files, if Conray, you think that would be helpful.
very helpful. So Dan, you know, if we talk about long-term planning, okay, a year out, 6 months, whatever long-term turns out to be, when we get a new member, we'll give them some time to learn the ropes. And the first thing we usually do with new members is put them on, let them become the clerk. And so, yeah, in that way, if you take the budget now, we're basically, if you eventually end up as chairman, you'll kind of ease into it.
Yeah, so who knows what the future holds? You know, we know at least for the present, this sounds like a good plan and a likely scenario. But at this point, you know, I appreciate your taking on this role, Conray. I'd also like to make another motion. I move that the Lake Boon Commission officially appreciate Chris's role and her work as chair, and with deep, you know, honor and appreciation for what you've done to really cite that. That's kind of a wordy way to make a motion, but you hear the message there, Chris.
I do.
I'll second that, Dan.
All righty. Any further discussion? I
Did
will.
I second it yet? Oh, no, I moved it. Conray seconded it. That's
You
it.
moved it, Conray seconded.
Yep.
All righty, no further
And
discussion.
oh, now, Chris, you have to approve this because, yes, because
Oh,
you
'cause you
have
don't wanna
a
break our record.
100% from the time you took over, a 100% track record that every vote has been unanimous. It's no small feat of leadership, and I don't want you to lose that record on your final vote in your term.
Fair enough, fair enough. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. All right, so are we through with leadership transition? Off, we got the officer election. All right, one last thing I would just mention on transition is, so the Zoom account is in my name, tied to my credit card and everything else. And so my intent, because it's, you know, I'm the host, everything else about that. My intent is to cancel that at this point. So if you either, you know, short term, if you're still trying to figure out whether you need a Zoom account, I think both Hudson and Stowe have town Zoom accounts. So you could arrange through them.
Why did you not do that?
What?
Why did you do it
Yeah.
on your personal rather than the town?
Yep, because doing it on the town is a major logistical headache, because different commissions are vying for that thing. And so in order to know you want a meeting on this date, we agree we want a meeting on a date, and then you contact and find out, oops, there's, you know, there's 3 other groups meeting and they don't have any, you know, Zoom. So then you have to move your meeting. So for me, when we were first doing this, I think we had this discussion, it's worth the $14.99 for the convenience, because that was our that literally was our way to meet. Now as it gets into meeting in person again, and maybe sometimes, having a Zoom, it may not make sense.
You know, also, I have a personal account, the $14.99 a month. I take care of that for, a lot of calls that I do for other reasons.
Yep.
I guess there's no reason if there's some time comes up where we need a Zoom account, there's no reason because this was your personal account that you
Correct.
got reimbursement for. I wouldn't request reimbursement, but we could have an option without having to deal with that.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. I mean, I only established this for the LBC, but at the time it didn't occur to me that I could maybe actually have it linked to, a government group or something. I did end up getting the tax-free thing, so we don't have to pay the tax on that. But yeah, I think for, once in a while, there's no issue with using a personal Zoom. You just have to, you're the person that's going to chair. I mean, you're going to be hosting it, getting it started and all of that. And the thing that I would also mention on the Zoom, which it was much easier for me, is that when you're doing the Zooms, when you're setting up a meeting, you can choose between you have your dedicated number, or you could have sort of like a randomly assigned thing. And so that each time you do a meeting, it's a whole different thing, and it's a different passcode that the users have, that participants need to be communicated. I found that really challenging. And so I just went with my same number, same, passcode for every single one.
So if we don't have Zoom, how do we get this onto Stowe TV and have recordings of it?
So if you don't use Zoom, then you're going to want to let Stowe TV know in advance, because they used to record prior to COVID, right? We used to have Stowe TV.
Let me answer that, Chris.
What's that?
Can I answer that?
Yeah, go ahead.
So Stowe TV has a studio on the 3rd floor of the town building. And if it's a meeting you want recorded, you got to work with them ahead of time. And you either do it in their studio or get someone to record it. It's more difficult, but that's how you do it.
Yeah. So Jonathan, the same person that I send it to, you guys are copied on to Jonathan at Stowe TV is the person you'd work with. If you wanted to have a meeting that is in the Stowe Town Hall recorded, then he'd be the person to talk to.
What we did in the past, Dan, is, a lot of our meetings are there's very little contention in most of them. And we always went for a recorded meeting when we knew there was a public issue that was going to come up and create, public interest. We recorded those. But, a budget meeting and some of the mundane things we do to run the commission, most people, they're not that interested, so. But except for Mr. Galpy, he likes all the recordings.
Yes.
Could be in a
can I
book
just-
someday.
Would we be able to because we have some people who are online now through Zoom, just sort of do a query of how you feel if we were to transition to fully,
Dan, I'd rather not do that because it's not a public debate issue. It's going to be a public law issue. If the governor says no more Zoom meetings, we're done.
all right, well, fair enough.
Whether people want them or not makes no difference. If the government says no, it's no.
Has he said that yet?
No, well, he hasn't said no. So the current order will expire effective July 15th. So unless he extends it again, which did happen, but it was a little bit more notice than this, then it will no longer be valid.
And the town clerks will dutifully let us know what the law is.
Yep.
Both Linda and Joe will let us know whether we can or can't have Zoom meetings after the 15th.
Well, just as a member of the Great Unwashed, I find the Zoom particularly useful And I think you'll get more interest, which is clearly something we need if it's available on Zoom. If not, then that's non-issue.
Yep.
We'll talk about that in a future meeting. I mentioned the way we do them at my yacht club. And by the way, yacht club is a very misleading term. We're a bunch of working guys. But, you know, we've learned that in order to get more interest, we use Zoom to broadcast the meeting, but we don't take participation over Zoom. Because we've gone back to live meetings. If you want to participate, you come to the meeting. If you want to watch the meeting, you can see it on Zoom. That's the way we do it at the club. And Dan, I think you and I will talk about that in a future meeting, but I think that's probably legal no matter what.
Oh, yeah, that will be fine. But
What was that?
literally,
What was that?
We
that
can
you
use
would,
Zoom to transmit our meeting live.
Oh, I see. Huh. Okay.
All it takes is a PC and a camera. It's not real hard, especially for us. You know, we're a small board in a small room. It's pretty easy to do. It's extremely difficult to bring in comments from an external source on Zoom. You know, right now, people don't realize we're all on a single computer in a single spot. That works very well. When you put 50 people in a room or 20 people in a room and you try to do it, it doesn't work so well.
right. Yeah. And
So-
Conrad, when you do it with your yacht club for just broadcasting, I assume you turn off the chat and you mute you basically force a mute on all participants.
Pretty much. What we do is we've got a big screen TV, so we put the Zoom up on the TV so everybody can see what's what. We have a camera on a bridge runs our meeting. So the bridge is on the meeting. We have a PA system which feeds the audio for Zoom, so the participants can hear it easily. We have a way, so like our treasurer travels a lot, and he will do his treasury report via Zoom, but I have to change the setup just for him. And then we go back to the other setup. So the trouble becomes feedback and
Yep.
So
It is.
All right.
Okay, so the last thing I had on my notes for transition, Dan, is I did talk to Linda Hathaway the other day to just see whether she wanted me to turn into the town the key, which is a key to the door in town hall and the key to the bulletin board outside. And she said, no, it was fine to hand it off directly to you. So I will drop that off some point.
right.
Are
Thank
you
you.
around like tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay, I'll text
Just
you.
give a buzz before you come, but
Yeah. Okay,
Chris, there's still a key inside once you're in the building for the bulletin board.
yes, there is still one inside.
I know where that is.
But for the longest time, the building wasn't open much, so
That's true.
it's a heck of a lot easier not to have to go fish it out and,
Yep, I agree.
yep, so.
They
All
always offered me those keys and I never took them because I just didn't want to have one more key.
Yeah, I hear you. So, okay, so I think we're done with transition. We're done with old business at this point. I think we went through the few things that were kind of lingering out there. New business, you know, the whole discussion that took place earlier during public comment, and there continues to be a lot of interest in understanding if there's ways to, you know, publicize, communicate, whatever, post information about no wake zones and where those are. And so I think that's a topic for a future meeting. But I do recommend that there be some real homework done ahead of time so that the commission can kind of step through a few things instead of just a free-for-all discussion. So
okay.
anything else on new business that you guys want to make sure is covered in your next meeting? Presumably final well, you'd put it on
Well,
there.
let's
Yeah.
say, one topic will be discussion of how we proceed under, what kinds of communications, broadcasting, and all the Zoom issues that we discussed. That should be a topic.
So Dan, send me proposed topics from you. I'll create the agenda and I'll get it published in both towns.
Yep.
Um,
Okay.
And our next meeting, 11th or 12th of July, or the 7th or 8th of, the 8th of July, no, I can't do 7th or 8th. 6, 11, or 12, what works for you, Dan?
Yeah, I'm just looking at my calendar here. Does 6 give you enough time?
I'll have my stuff done tomorrow.
Yeah. All right. How about
Choice, it's the end of the month, it's the end of the fiscal year.
the 6th?
The 6th is okay. Because I'm gonna probably drive down to Portside tomorrow.
So then, of course, that means that the motor is another topic. We've got the 3 topics of issues around communications and buoys and the no wake zones, the how we will broadcast and communicate about our meetings with Zoom or whatever, and the new motor. Is that right?
So that meeting, if we have one on the 6th, could still be Zoom.
That's true.
All right. Hey, you're into that technology there, guy.
I have a love-hate relationship with Zoom.
Yeah.
I actually like Zoom meetings the way we're doing.
So
it.
Dan, that would, if you're gonna use your,
And we'll use
account,
my Zoom, and I will, Conray, send you the link for use in the agenda you send out.
So it'll be 7 p.m. on July 6th.
Yep.
And I'll create an agenda with input from you. And then the only other thing is, if they should appoint another member, we'll want to have a meeting as soon as we can to bring that member on board. And that'll be an onboarding meeting.
Yeah, it certainly won't be before the 6th.
No.
All right.
okay,
Can I ask a question?
sure.
At the last meeting or the prior meeting or two, we started discussions on wake boats with a plan of studying the law and trying to define violations and then talk about enforcement and potential for new rules. Have we dismissed the whole thing at this point? Or just forgotten about it in
I thought that was the
transition?
topic that we had as our first topic. We put in that list there of that. To me, the topic is a broad topic. It is, how do we deal with safety on the lake as a follow-up to what we've discussed about wake boats and other issues, also as a follow-up to the questions that you raised about buoys, as did other people, and that seems to me, in my view, is the next stage of that discussion. Maybe we need to set aside even more time than we can in that meeting, but seems to me that's a crucial issue to continue, and that's what I thought we meant by that first item in the agenda.
Okay, we never said the word wake boat, so I assumed it was something different. Though I would like to cite one positive instance from the last week. I mean, just a couple of days ago, there was one of the big wake boats was out in the second basin. And, he roared down the lake, coming right at my dock. I kind of waved him to the right. And so he turned to the right and he created a monstrous wave that rocked my world for a few minutes. But then he went back and he came back and he didn't come down as far. So, I mean, he did the right thing in trying to manage that. And the second time through, it was much less. And he probably only skied 2 or 3 times and then he was gone. So, I mean, it was a good instance that it can be done. It can be worked if people are willing. I think his name is Dan over on North Shore someplace. I think I met him once.
What color was the boat?
That's the maroon boat?
Yep, that's Dan.
Yeah.
It could have been his kids.
Okay. Well, like I said, from my perspective, they were well behaved.
They tried. Red, what I have found over the years, this is a perpetual topic, by the way.
Yeah.
And it's all about education, and the people that live on the lake, they pretty much will come, do the best they can. It's the
Mhm.
off-lakers we have trouble with. And it doesn't have to be a wakeboard boat. You get a big boat.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I had a pontoon boat yesterday create a giant wake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyways, yeah, we'll follow up on that stuff, but
Okay.
Yeah.
But,
and-
You know,
and I
the other point of that, one of the things that people have been doing related to wake boats is also because the wakes accumulate with repetition. So they're also setting limits on the number of runs that people can make, which is another way to look at the problem, just as a possibility.
And Red, I would just say that the kind of the way we kind of started approaching the session last week was really just let's understand the law, right?
Right.
That's what we wanted to focus on, and kind of get some common understanding and see if we have areas and that maybe are not as obvious, or that we take issue with, whatever. But that was the idea, is start with what are the laws and the regulations at this point in time. Now, do we have violations of those happening on a frequent basis or not? And then kind of go on to have further discussions in different areas, and at some point, because it's going to be a lot of discussion and a lot of things to pull together. So I would suggest breaking it into pieces.
Sure.
Well,
Well, my only concern was one boater talked against it last week and then it disappeared.
No,
And
it didn't disappear.
I don't think it should disappear.
Yeah, I don't think it disappeared at all, Red. I appreciate your concern and thank you for your persistence. But in my view, I echo, I believe what Chris has said, that we're working this through. It's clearly something that a number of people have raised, and we're working our way through methodically, understanding what the regs are.
There's no overnight solution to this.
okay.
No.
So
No,
Rick,
and what I would also say is, kind of thought about it a little bit afterwards. It is going to, the impacts of boats and wakes is going to be felt differently in different parts of the lake, truthfully.
Sure.
So, and I don't know the answer. For example, Steve felt like that they don't have erosion on their shoreline, and that may very well be true. It may be that it's deep there and he doesn't have a shallow approach or whatever, and
Right.
therefore he doesn't get the same. I don't have any idea, but I do, think that it is going to be different in different parts of the lake. So one person's experience in either direction is not, a whole lake statement that there's no issue or there is an issue. It is going to be a little different based on the conditions and the type, the topography and everything else of where we each live.
yeah, so I've only been on the lake since '79, and our shores haven't changed,
Right.
I can say my shore has changed.
has it?
And
Absolutely.
so has mine until I put all 60 tons of stone in place.
There you go.
Well, I know last year, I mean, whenever I tried to fish in the second basin, the wake boats would show up and just drive me right out of there. And because I couldn't even hold my seat when they went by. I had to leave every time they show up, and they'd be there for hours and hours.
Red, the solution is to eliminate fishing.
Go buy one myself and take up wakeboarding. I don't have the hips for that, Conrad.
I don't know, what
Yeah.
you guys.
I guess the question is, are we having this discussion now, or are we
Yeah.
saying that we're
Yeah.
going to have it?
Yes, we're
We're saying we're going to have it.
yes. So, all right. So I think we are through. The target for next meeting is 7 p.m. on July 6th. And we are now at adjournment. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
I second.
Well done, Chris.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye, all
Now,
right,
Chris, we welcome you to join in on the meetings.
absolutely, and I
And in
will be
fact,
on
you and
some,
I can now have conversations, or you and Conrad, without any rules.
Not,
So-
not till July 1st,
Right.
right,
not till July 1st.
exactly,
Oh, that's true. Okay, so,
till the end of the month, yep.
okay.
All right, very good,
Thank you, Chris.
you're welcome, thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Nice job.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Good night now.
Good night, Al.